Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Create the Life You Love podcast with Georgia Woodbine. I am your host, Georgia, and I am very excited to share conversations with you with successful entrepreneurs, business owners that provide you with content that's going to help you grow in your business. Share strategies, they share tips, and basically share how they have created the life that they love. So feel free to send us your comments, to ask us questions. Remember to go to my website, www.georgiawoodbine.com. And like I said, this podcast is all about sharing how I created the life I love. Sue is going to share how she created the life she loved. And that's really what it's about. So let me introduce our guest. Her name is Sue Fearless, and she is the CEO and founder of Fearless Women. And she uplifts, inspires, and empower women. Sue and her team provide support and encouragement, and also resources and education to assist with job placement. She has been featured on Channel 12, and she's the host of the Fearless Show on BronxNet. And she provides like so much information on financial literacy, mindset coaching, personal and professional development, and the list just goes on and on and on. So I'm going to introduce Sue, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about her and, what brought her to this level in her life. Hey, Sue, how are you?
Good. How are you, Georgia?
I am fantabulous. I am just fantabulous, and I'm so happy to have you on the show. I believe, like, especially now at this day and age, a lot of people are trying to figure out how to create the life that they love because people are realizing that during the pandemic, they did not like their life how it was before. So they like the new normal. They like having more time with their children. They like being able to have more flexibility with their time. So, like I said, it's all about you taking ownership and creating the life that you love. So, the first question I want to ask you, Sue, is why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about your backstory and how you ended up where you are today?
um Loaded question. um so I let's see, where do I start? I guess as a young girl, I've always been into like the creative arts, always been into music, fashion, also very much into my studies, very business oriented since I was very young. So I always had that like creative entrepreneurial spirit since I was very, very young. But of course, life always gives you a twist and turn. So I became a young mom, and I have two amazing children who are grown now. I have a 19 and 17-year-old. So I think that just my life's journey, just navigating being a parent, very young, navigating college at the same time, and also the workforce. Kind of just always had me thinking about what's next, right? Because I always wanted to have a solid foundation for my kids. I always
Mhm.
wanted to like learn more so that I can be able to, at some point when they can comprehend, teach them what I know and things like that. So, about, I'm going to say it was maybe 2013, 2014, I started to think about how I can pour into my community, especially women,
Mhm.
because I'm a DV survivor. So I wanted to help women, whether it was if they were going through domestic violence or, any type of trauma. I wanted to be able to help women come out of these traumas and challenges and take
Mhm.
back control over their life, and, just be able to shift their life and kind of like, what your message is on your show, right? Create the life you want to live, right? um so I started to think about how I can give back to my community. So I came up with Fearless Women, and it was amazing because so many women started pouring into the organization and
Mhm.
supporting the organization and everything we were doing. I was doing a lot of events in New York City, holding a lot of workshops and things like that. So all of that then turned into, okay, let me use now everything I learned in my 18 plus years
Mhm.
career in finance, and let me
Right.
give back to my community and my women entrepreneurs and my career women, and teach them what I know, right? So
Mhm.
kind of that's kind of like how the journey led me to where I am today. And of course, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So once I started to learn about entrepreneurship and I started my own business, then I also wanted to teach that and give back in that way.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think it's amazing. I think, and most people don't realize that when you get to this place in life where people just look at you and like say, "Oh, I want to do what you do," but they don't want to have the same story that you had. They don't want to go through the experiences that you went through. And therefore, there's a saying that my mom used to always say. She goes, don't worry about what other people have because you don't know how they got it. You don't know what they did to get it, and you don't know what they did to earn it. So never compare yourself to someone else. And I think in society, we're living in a society now with social media where everybody's constantly comparing themselves because what they see is not what they really see. But anyway, we'll get into that. But why don't you share like one of the most important things that you've learned as being an entrepreneur?
Um, I learned to have like a really strong backbone.
Mm-hmm.
Not only through entrepreneurship, of course, through everything I've been through, but when it comes to entrepreneurship, you're really betting on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, really develop a strong backbone and know that you are going to have moments of failure. You are going to
Yep.
have moments of loss, but you have to learn how to pick yourself back up and stay the course and stay
Mm-hmm.
focused, and learn, from those moments. So I think creating that and also having a lot of patience,
Mm-hmm.
because people think that when you enter the entrepreneurship world, everything is going to come easy and your
Right.
success come fast, and your profit is going to come fast. But it takes a lot of time, especially when you're first starting, because you kind of wear many hats within your business. So I
Mm-hmm.
think having like the strength and the focus and the patience, I think that's very important when you enter the entrepreneurship world.
Absolutely. They say the most important question you will ever ask yourself in life is, why am I here? And I think that, like when you were saying being an entrepreneur, you should always know your why.
Yeah.
Because the money is not going to come right away. And if it's something, you should always focus on something that you're passionate about. Because guess what? If the money doesn't come right away, you're going to stick it out for the long haul because it's something that you love. It's something that you're passionate about. It's something that gives you joy and zest. And they always say, like, how do people know what their gift is? It's because you do something so easily because it's a natural ability for you, but for someone else it's harder. So why don't you, Sue, share with us like what success means to you? Because success means different things to different people. Why don't you share what your definition of success is?
Yeah, and I was going to say I completely agree with you. I think that a lot of people approach me and they ask me, how did you do it? How did you figure out what you wanted to do as an entrepreneur? And I agree with you. I think just figuring out what your passion is, and honing in on it, and just doing a lot of research and educating yourself in that area. And I think that that's in connection with the question you just asked. Also, what does success mean to me? I think success means to me, especially because of everything I've been through, is just being able to pour back into my community and being able to change at least one person's life. And I know that sounds a little cliche, and a lot of people say that, but I think that that's very important because we don't know how much we inspire people with the work that we do. Like, we really truly inspire others, so I think that everyone who I encounter and I'm able to have those real vulnerable conversations with, I make sure that I pour into them and give them the strength and give them the motivation, the empowerment,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can go after what they need to go after. And once I start seeing, them putting their goals and their dreams, and seeing them come to fruition, it makes me so proud. It makes me like a proud mom. So that's what like I define as success. Is just being able to give back in that way. And it's ironic because I never thought that education would be my field, and it
Right.
actually has become that. And I think
Mhm.
it's because of that, because through the education I lead with passion and compassion and empathy and things like that, and I think it translates, so people really connect to the information that I give them.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the greatest joy when you realize that your gift is touching someone else and your gift is raising someone else. And they say that your success really comes when you're serving others. When you're serving, like doing things like Sue, like myself, and constantly pouring into people, you won't ever have to chase success. You won't ever have to chase money. You won't ever have to chase anything because there's going to be a time in your life where you come into what we call alignment. And when you come into alignment in your life, it's like you can start using all these different pieces and connecting the dots to really create the life that you love. So you tap into your skill set, you tap into your education, you tap into things that you love to do, you tap into all of these things that you've learned on your job. And then what that does is it creates this world of alignment where it's like things just start to fall into place. Your life starts to make sense. You're like, okay, well, that's why I work there. Okay, well, that's why I met this person, or that's why I did this. And then you won't be like so like all over the place. So it's so important to know what your vision is. And one of the things that I love to share too, Sue, is that people should have a mission statement for their life. Not
Mm.
just a mission statement for your business, but a mission statement for your personal life. Because when you have a mission statement, what it does is it gives you clarity, it gives you focus, it shows you where to spend your time because people are always complaining like what they don't have enough time to do things. So it's like once you know your mission in life, now everything that you do or spend your time doing is going to be in alignment with that mission. So
Exactly.
I'm going to ask you what your mission statement is, and I'm going to share mine just to kind of give people an idea of what a mission statement is. So my mission statement is I, Georgia Woodbine, am here to empower, encourage, and motivate 1 million plus people to transform their minds to change their life. So that's my mission statement. That's like why I do all the things that I do, why I do this podcast, why I do motivational speaking, why I write books. So why don't you share, Sue, with us what your mission statement is?
um well, thank you for putting me on the spot with that. Um, so I think that's super important though, and I'm glad that we're talking about this because we don't think about our personal mission statement most of the time. We think about our business mission statement. But luckily for me, everything that I'm doing is in alignment, so it kind of connects with me personally as well. Like I never thought that before I answer the question, when I had my children, I never thought that my career would be in finance, and I ended up there because I wanted stability for my children. But now, hindsight, everything that I learned in the finance industry has allowed me to educate in that area. So you're right, everything is alignment. So I think if we start thinking about things that way, instead of complaining if we're stuck in a job or things like that, I think utilize that job that you're stuck in, right? And figure out if you can use what you've learned and put it in other areas in your life, in your business, whatever it is. Also utilize the finances you're making there to start your entrepreneurial business. I'm a co-author on a book called Workpreneur, and I
Hmm.
think amazing because that's exactly what we are before we become full-time entrepreneurs. So to get back to your question, my mission statement, I think it is, make sure that you put out what you want to receive, and make sure that every day that you wake up, the thoughts that come into your head are thoughts that are positive and thoughts that are encouraging, that are affirmations to yourself, because how you get up and how you start your day is definitely how your day is going to flow. So that's something that I'm thinking about at the moment, that comes to mind. And I say that because a lot of times we struggle
Hmm.
when we start our businesses or even in our careers, right? And we're
Hmm.
stressing ourselves out more than we should,
Right.
when said, if we take control over our thoughts and start seeing things from a different mindset. And I know you and I both focus on mindset. I think you
Hmm.
start control over the narrative in your life and over the outcomes in your life, right? So you start getting up in the morning and going to work or working on your business starts to feel more peaceful and
Mm-hmm.
instead of more stressful, right? So I think that definitely just setting the tone for your day when you wake up in the morning and making sure you fill your minds with positive thoughts and affirmations.
Absolutely. And it's so powerful what you said, because whether you want to believe it or not, you have the power to shape your life, your future with your thoughts. Because guess what? Your words become your thoughts become your actions, and your actions become your reality. So you have to decide how you want to show up in this world that we call life. You have to decide what's important to you, and how you can make those things align with your life, so you don't have to feel like anything is missing. And what most people don't realize, Sue, is that when they start to complain, or when they start to fear things, or when they start to say they don't have, when you are operating in lack, that's what you attract, is more lack. Every time you say you're broke, every time you say you don't have something, because now you have separated yourself from something, and now you feel like it's missing. So of course you're going to constantly see things happening where things are missing. But once you are operating in that level of complete fulfillment, meaning that there's nothing missing to make me happy, I have everything that I need to be joyful, I have everything that I need to feel excited about waking up in the morning. Once you start operating on that level of that vibration of feeling positive, like Sue was saying, getting up in the morning, starting your day, then that's what you're going to attract. That's the energy of people that you're going to attract. That's the energy of opportunities that you're going to attract. So every time this is why Sue and I are so, you know, focused on teaching you mindset, because your mindset is what controls everything else. It controls your health, it controls your finances, it controls how you deal with people, it controls how you react to people, it controls all of that. Would you care to elaborate more on that, Sue?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And listen, this is not something that's easy. I think on a constant basis, we have to continue to remind ourselves that we are living a life of abundance, right? That the opportunities are out there. We just need to open ourselves up to receive them. And I think that when we are stressing so much, we're closing that energy off. And
Mm-hmm.
said, when we start thinking about from a mindset of lack, we're always going to constantly be looking for something to fulfill ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's money, whether it's love in the
Relationship. Mm-hmm.
exact. So it's something that we're always growing and learning. So it's not something that's going to click from one day to another, but again, it's the practice
Mm-hmm.
of controlling your thoughts. So definitely, I think that it's super important. I mean, me myself, this is something that I work on a daily basis, because I am a Capricorn and I am very, just focused on my everyday and very driven. And I'm a go. I'm always climbing and climbing and climbing, right? So I always constantly have to remind myself. I know that there are other goals, um, but I've come so far. This is so far all of the things that I've been able to accomplish, and sit in that place of gratitude, sit in that
Mm-hmm.
presence. I think that that's the most important thing. If you're, like you said, if you're walking around, always looking for something to fulfill you because you feel like you lack, then that's exactly what you're going to be attracting, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
completely agree. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that that's the hardest thing. I can't remember a story, but I don't know if it's in the Bible or in a spiritual book, but it was a story about how God created us, and how there was this thing that people are searching for, looking everywhere for, like looking for it externally. And it was so what I remember, the basis of the story was that you go looking for things, and it's already within you. Like, you have everything you need to be successful. You have everything you need to be happy. You have everything you need to find joy. And you're probably looking at me and someone saying, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. They've succeeded in certain areas in their life." And so, but guess what? We weren't always here. It was a process to get to that level of success. So now when I look back and I see how when I first started out, how much I was getting paid to speak and how much I'm getting now, I put in the work. I put in the work. I did the work. When people were sleeping, I was writing a book. So, you know what I mean? It's like, don't worry about what other people are doing. Just start focusing on what you're good at. And I think that the most common fears that people have, Sue, is the fear of not having enough, the fear of not having control in their life, the fear of loss, or the fear of what people think. And I think once you get past those fears, you realize that there's really nothing stopping you from you being successful. So why don't you share like a piece of advice that you have for the viewers, Sue, on how they can start pursuing their goals and what they should be focused on to be successful in life?
Yeah, I mean everything we were talking about. I think like you said, just turn off the outside noise. Just really sit with yourself and really for me journaling works. Really write down all of your passions, really think about yourself and write down things about yourself. Write down different talents that you have, different skill sets that you have. Have a journal for just affirmations and just write them down daily. Um, and just, really do the inner work. Because I think that a lot of times when people talk about entrepreneurship, they really don't talk about the inner work that we have to do first to
Mm-hmm.
be able to, be strong in this entrepreneurship journey and be able to see the opportunities and seize them. Because a lot of times opportunities pass us by because we are stuck in that mindset of lack and we're stuck in
Mm-hmm.
that mindset of stress. So I think really do the inner work. um and like I said, it's not easy. It's always a work in progress. And also I don't want you guys, to, like Georgia said, we haven't always been here. We've been through things and we've had to get through things to get to this point and also put in the work. So I don't want you guys to think that this is we're telling you it's easy peasy. No, not at all. Definitely, if you're going through tough times, definitely sit. You can um do self-care and sit in your feelings. But what I don't want you to do is dwell on your feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let that energy prolong for too long,
Mm-hmm.
right? Definitely feel your feelings, write them down, see, figure out what's making you feel this way. A lot of us go through imposter syndrome. Write down what's making you feel like you are inadequate to do
Mm-hmm.
the things you are being called to do. Why
Mm-hmm.
do you feel that way, right? So I think do a lot of inner work. I think that's really going to help you reach the success level that you want to reach. Really knowing who you are. I know for me, I also started off as introverted, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
just threw myself out into this field where I always have to speak. It wasn't always the easiest thing for me to do. I still go through my own little challenges sometimes, and I have to practice and things like that so
Mm-hmm.
I feel better. But you know, you said something about fear earlier. Definitely just put those fears aside. Like we literally can accomplish most of anything that we want to accomplish. Practice also makes perfect. When I started doing my education classes, I definitely had to practice a few times before I started getting the hang of it. So all of that, just do the inner work, practice on yourself, see what your fears are,
Mm-hmm.
put yourself outside of your fears, right? That's part of the reason why, I started Fearless Women, because it's so ironic because at the time I didn't feel like I was a fearless woman. And I kind of I've kind of called that onto myself, by
Mm-hmm.
starting an organization called Fearless Women, and I kind of made that my motto. And I slowly am stepping into that, role fully. I still have a lot more to grow and a lot more to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't want to be long-winded, but definitely just do the inner work. I think is super important, and push yourself past your fears. Definitely journal and write things down, and do a lot of research in the
Mm-hmm.
industry you're getting into. Definitely know the ins and outs, and prepare yourself to network.
Absolutely. I think everything that you're saying is just like it's so on point. And, you can't change what you don't confront. You know what I mean? It's like someone saying, I want to lose weight, but they're not looking at what they're eating that's making them gain weight. Or it's like someone saying, um, I want to do this, I want to do that, or I want to be in a relationship, or I want to meet somebody, but yet you're not going out, you're not networking, you're not doing things that's putting you in social environments. So, you got to confront what you want to change. But,
Yes.
basically. And there's a quote that I love, and it's by Dr. Wayne Dwyer, and it says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's so profound and so powerful. So I'm going to say it one more time, people. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that is so powerful. It's so powerful. It's all about our perception. And like Sue was saying, you just have to focus on the things that make you feel good. Focus on working on your mindset. Focus on, setting goals for yourself. Because guess what? Out of sight, out of mind. If you don't have a goal, there's a saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You can't plan to be successful if you don't even know your relationship with money right now. If your money is not, if your money and your let's let the finance person talk
Yes.
about it. Go ahead, Sue. Go ahead and talk about that. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Listen, that is probably one of the most difficult things. Even me having a finance background, I also had to learn along the way as I started to make, more money and move up the ladder in my career. Managing your finances is one of the hardest things, but it's not um it's not something you can't do, right? It's because we weren't taught this when we were young, right? We weren't conditioned to have a good relationship with money, since we were young. So I think this is a great time right now because since the pandemic, there have been so many financial literacy courses out there,
Mhm.
even for free. So anything you need to learn about managing your finances, if you do not know, definitely go and take some classes. You can reach out to me as well for that.
Mhm.
But absolutely, your relationship with money has to be a healthy one because you can make a lot of money and lose it as quickly as you made it. So definitely, tap into your finances. Make sure that that your business structure is set up the correct way, because that also has to do with your finances. At the end of the year, when you're filing your taxes, it
Mhm.
all depends on how your business is set up.
Exactly.
Every your credit, make sure you're on top of your credit, make sure you're pulling your credit as often as you can so you can see what's going on, see if there's any discrepancies on there. Make sure, I'm just giving you little quick tips, but make sure that credit utilization is under 33%, because that affects your credit score big time.
Mhm.
Make sure that if you start a business, you're taking advantage of business credit. Um, Try not to use your money for to put into your business. Get business credit. It's definitely accessible, and it is so much better than using your personal finances because you can leverage it, and then you can also increase your not only your personal credit score but also your business credit score. So
Mhm.
all of those things, but definitely have create a healthy relationship with your money. I know we all of us get money and we always want to buy nice things, but
Mhm.
it's better to make investments. So just start thinking about those things. Absolutely, I think that that's super important.
Absolutely. Great tips. So we're getting to the end of the show. So I want to ask you the signature question that I love to ask all of my guests. And that is, if you were to look in the mirror and see your younger self, what would you tell her?
um I think I would tell her to use her voice. I think the younger me definitely had a lot to say but didn't speak up for herself enough. So I would say use your voice. Your voice is definitely very powerful. So use your voice.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Sue. I got to get you back on the show to talk about the financial stuff because I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear more about that. So you definitely got to come back on the show. But I just want to thank you for taking the time out, and I just want to thank you for what you do because I know you put a lot of work into what you do, and I know you're out there in the trenches and you're like, giving, 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 and sometimes people don't realize when you're giving all the time, it's draining. It is draining when you're constantly pouring yourself out to people. But thank you for being on the show, and we're going to have you back. And thank you all for being a part of Create the Life You Love with Georgia Woodbine. Bye, Sue.
Bye.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you
here.
so much.